America, the land of opportunity, right? But here's the catch. Sometimes that opportunity comes with a side of corruption. We're not talking about a few bad apples here, we're talking about a system where corruption can thrive, often in plain sight. And the worst part? Many Americans think it doesn't even matter. This isn't about petty bribery or small-town scandals. It's about a culture where big money influences politics, corporations write their own rules, and accountability seems about as common as a unicorn riding a Segway. So, buckle up, because we're about to dive headfirst into the murky waters of American corruption. We'll expose the myths, the realities, and the dangerous consequences of accepting corruption as just the way things are. Get ready for some uncomfortable truths, folks. This is America's Got Corruption Talent. Corruption, it's a word that gets thrown around a lot. But what does it actually mean in the American context? Think of it like this. Corruption is like that weird smell in your fridge. You know something's off, but you're not sure what. It could be a forgotten takeout container or a science experiment gone wrong. In America, corruption often wears a suit and tie. It's about powerful people using their influence for personal gain, even if it means screwing over everyone else. It's about campaign contributions that buy political favors. It's about lobbyists writing laws that benefit corporations, not people. It's about a system rigged to benefit the few at the expense of the many. Corruption isn't just some abstract concept. It has a real-world cost, and it's costing Americans big time. We're talking billions, folks. Think about it. When companies get away with polluting because they've bought off politicians, it's our health that suffers. When infrastructure crumbles because funds are diverted to shady projects, it's our safety that's at risk. And let's not forget about the erosion of trust in our institutions. When people see corruption go unpunished, they lose faith in the system. They become cynical, disengaged, and less likely to participate in democracy. Here's the thing about corruption in America. It often doesn't seem to matter. Politicians embroiled in scandal get re-elected. CEOs caught red-handed receive golden parachutes. It's like a game where the rules are made to be broken, especially if you're rich and powerful. Why? Well, for starters, there's a whole lot of legal corruption going on. Lobbying, campaign finance loopholes, revolving doors between government and industry. It's all perfectly legal, even if it stinks to high heaven. Then there's the whole too big to fail mentality. When powerful individuals or corporations screw up, they often get bailed out or slapped on the wrist. The message is clear. The rules don't apply if you're at the top. Section 5. Ignorance is bliss and really expensive. Public perception of corruption. Here's a fun fact. Americans are pretty clueless about how much corruption is actually happening right under their noses. Sure, we see the occasional scandal on the news, but we often dismiss it as politics as usual. We're like that friend who walks into a room that smells like burnt popcorn and says, "What? I don't smell anything." This lack of awareness is partly due to the way corruption is portrayed, or rather, not portrayed, in the media. It's not always sexy enough for prime time, and it can be complex and nuanced. Besides, it's easier to focus on celebrity gossip than to grapple with systemic issues. Section 6. The everybody does it excuse normalizing shady business. Ever heard the saying, if everyone else jumped off a bridge, would you jump too? That's pretty much the logic behind the everybody does it excuse for corruption. When people see corruption as pervasive, they're more likely to engage in it themselves. It's like jaywalking. If everyone else is doing it, it must be okay, right? This normalization of corruption is incredibly dangerous. It creates a culture where ethical lines become blurred and wrongdoing becomes acceptable, even expected. Section 7. The legal loopholes where corruption hides in plain sight. Remember those legal corruption shenanigans we talked about? Yeah, those are a big part of the problem. The American legal system is like a giant game of whack-a-mole. As soon as you close one loophole, another one pops up. Campaign finance laws are full of loopholes that allow wealthy individuals and corporations to exert undue influence on elections. Lobbying regulations are about as effective as a screen door on a submarine. These loopholes create an environment where corruption can flourish, all while technically staying within the bounds of the law. It's like getting away with murder, because you remembered to say please and thank you afterward. Section 8. The erosion of trust. Corruption's ripple effect. Corruption doesn't just hurt our wallets, it also erodes trust in our government, institutions, and each other. It's like termites eating away at the foundation of our society. When people believe the system is rigged against them, they become disillusioned and cynical. They're less likely to vote, volunteer, or engage in civic life. This erosion of trust has far-reaching consequences. It makes it harder to address collective challenges like climate change, inequality, and political polarization. After all, who wants to work together when you believe everyone is out for themselves? Section 9. Cleaning up our act, a call to arms, and maybe a whistleblower hotline. So, what can we do about this whole corruption mess? Well, for starters, we need to acknowledge the problem. We can't fix what we don't admit is broken. We need to demand greater transparency and accountability from our elected officials. We need to close legal loopholes that allow corruption to thrive. And we need to support investigative journalism that shines a light on wrongdoing. This isn't about being anti-government or anti-business. It's about creating a system that works for everyone, not just the wealthy and well-connected. It's about restoring faith in the American dream, not the rigged reality we're currently facing. So let's get to work, America. We've got some cleaning up to do.